Hey all, Jason Levon, priest at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Welcome to another edition of Pause and Pray. The author Jack Kornfield once wrote, "After the honeymoon comes the marriage. After the election comes the governing. And the same is true for the spiritual life. After ecstasy comes the laundry." Words we may not always want to acknowledge, because if you're like me, I can spend an awful lot of time and energy chasing after the ecstasy, the things that I think will bring a sense of euphoria to my life. Maybe that's material possessions or money and the security I think they'll bring, or that perfect romance and love that's sold to us in so many movies or songs. But I've lived long enough to know that whenever I've had a sense of the ecstatic in life, it's never lasted very long. I always come to realize that there's laundry piling up, waiting to be done. And isn't that true for all of us, that most of the life that waits for us is life in the real and the ordinary? When we're not all dressed up and put together for work, when the makeup's not on, when the kids are ornery, and when we're all sorts of restless. That most of the life in which we live is lived in a sense of uncertainty and mess, and realizing we're all unfinished products and have a long way to go. That as much as we might seek after those things we think will bring us to a sense of ecstasy and euphoria, life, or the believer would say God, has a way of calling us back to the laundry. And the Holy Family, Mary and Joseph, experienced that same reality in their life. Today, the church celebrates the feast of the presentation of our Lord in the temple. And Luke tells that story in chapter 2 when Mary and Joseph, adhering to the beauty of their religious tradition, brought their child to the temple. And in doing so, created a moment of ecstasy, namely for Simeon and Anna, who were there living with this longing for God's redemption in their life. And when Simeon saw the child, he uttered that beautiful canticle, basically saying that now he can die because his eyes have seen the salvation of God. And Anna also singing God's praises for the redemption that was breaking into this world through this child. But after that moment of ecstasy, the text says that Joseph and Mary took Jesus and went back to the ordinariness of their home in Nazareth, where undoubtedly laundry was waiting to be done. But the text says there, in all of that realness and ordinariness, is where Jesus grew in wisdom and a deeper understanding of God's favor upon him. Perhaps in that is a very comfortable invitation for us to pause and pray about today. As so many of us continue to find ourselves spending a lot of our time in the most familiar surroundings to us, our homes, as we continue to navigate this pandemic. To pause and pray, though, how in the midst of what's so familiar and real and ordinary, we continue to find life and sustenance and meaning. Maybe that's found in gratitude for those sharing this space with us, be they two-legged beings or four-legged beings. Or maybe it's just found in the safety of our homes, where we can just be ourselves, wear our favorite flannel shirt, and not care if we're not put together or have our makeup on or are all sorts of restless. Where we can be all of those things, where we can be us just as we are. Today we're invited to pause and pray, and yes, give thanks to God for those experiences of ecstasy in our lives. But more importantly today, we're invited to pause and pray and give thanks to God for even daring to meet us in the laundry of our lives as well. God's peace and blessings to you all.